Aitage, welcome to the Science of Traveling Well. Let's travel someplace new together. Today, we're in the metropolis on the Maas, Rotterdam, the Netherlands' second largest city. My parents are back home in Breda watching our kids, and I'm having a night off from work, parenting, and chores here in Rotterdam together with my wife, Alinda. We're making a couple visits to Rotterdam's famous market hall, an enormous and spectacular building, just a couple years old. You have to think of it as a sort of apartment building that wraps around an open-air market, with street food stalls in the middle. After a night at the Citizen M Hotel, we spent the morning running and ended the workout with a coffee date at Dune, a specialty cafe with a long and unusually specific coffee menu. In the context of two very exciting jobs and two very excited children, it's easy for Alinda and I to forget our relationship a bit. Our understanding for each other and our interest in each other's ideas fades a bit into the background. So we found weekends away like this to be tremendously important for maintaining our connection, for catching up with each other, and for having the kind of deep conversations that our daily lives just don't allow. Also, with activities as a couple, like having a coffee together or exploring the street food at the market hall, it's a reminder that life is fun, and life together is a lot more fun still. Joining me today to explore if and how couples vacation is Dr. Moji Shahwali, my colleague at the Breda University of Applied Sciences. Moji is from Iran, grew up in Australia, and recently completed his PhD at Penn State University in the US, just as I did about 10 years before him. The topic of his PhD was the relationship benefits that people experience from vacationing together. Moji, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
To start with, tell us about your PhD research and the couples you studied.
Yes. So it was about 2015 that I decided to study scientifically how vacations can make us happier. And I noticed that almost all the recipes of a happy life include this important ingredient of happy relationships. So with the support I got from the doctoral program I was in, I went out there and recruited over 100 American couples from all across the United States. Now, these were couples who were either just starting a relationship, just recently moved into together, 2 years was the requirement, all the way up to couples who were together for 40 plus years. And I studied three things. I studied their vacation experiences, of course, the quality of their relationship in different ways, and also their just day-to-day fun, leisure, free time activities at home. Okay. These could be examples like gardening or painting together, playing games together, once in a while going out to a concert or a sports event, any religious activities, social activities, etc. And the real purpose behind it all was to see how these different day-to-day activities and vacation activities can feed back into our relationships, because a lot of relationship research is focused on problems, challenges, skills that you can kind of use to get over some of these hard times, while what we do a lot here, especially as well at Breda University, is to use some of these activities as a way to help relationships. And what I found was, my main finding was, overall, about 12% of couples' relationship functioning was related to their vacation experiences together over that year.
Okay. Yeah.
And there is so much in there that I still want to dig into, one of which we just did together recently. There are variables in there such as how technology can potentially interfere with the whole leisure experiences and vacations using cell phones, how certain people are having a hard time detaching from work and taking that with them in their leisure and vacations. So I measured not just how much you were able to detach from work, but also like your characteristic mindfulness traits as a trait. And one specific one was we thought maybe these vacations and leisure activities can also explain potentially overall how much couples appreciate their relationship, what we call relationship satisfaction.
Yeah.
And in the paper that we recently thought about, analyzed, and wrote together, we found that those who reported higher levels of relationship satisfaction were those that reported that they had, over the last year during those vacations, more talking and communication, more positive emotions together. They experienced more sex and affection on their vacations compared to an everyday life. They reported trying more new food and new culture. And there were certain couples who reported, on this vacation, we found things that we didn't know about each other or that we had in common. And interestingly, one last note about that was across all these studies, the number of vacations or the duration, at least in these American couples and contexts, did not matter, but it was more about the quality of these vacation experiences.
Right. So what these couples did on vacation, it sort of explains like more than a tenth of how well their relationship goes altogether, even though vacations are, I think, usually like less than a tenth of our time, right?
Exactly. It's when you think about all these things that can contribute to a successful relationship, explaining more than 10% is indeed a big finding.
Yeah. So what is it about vacations compared to daily activities that help relationships function better? In other words, how do you think couples benefit from vacationing together? What are the kind of things going through their minds that make this vacation time like special for their relationship?
Good question, and it's something that we're learning, and that's something that I like to do for a couple of more years to uncover some of these underlying things that happen. So some of the quite obvious ones that I'm fairly confident to say that it already is there is, of course, more bonding happens on vacations. You have more of that uninterrupted time together, and hopefully you don't take a lot of the daily thoughts and worries and work with you. Another thing that happens generally is there was this recent study that showed the quality and the amount of just talking and listening to each other was higher during the vacation compared to before and after that vacation. And one other important thing that also fascinates me is that in relationships, cohesion is important, but also the flexibility of relationships.
Right.
Meaning that things need to change. Although we generally don't welcome that in relationships, but roles and rules. Imagine if you are the one who cooks often or does the grocery shopping often, or you're the one that does the expenses and has certain roles in the relationship. Now, when you travel, you no longer have those resources and rules and divisions exactly, or you can't have them as it is. And that really helps relationships to move away from rigidity and become more flexible.
Because it's inevitable that like you will change as people, because people get older, they take different life roles, their minds develop, but also your environment is changing. I mean, our technological landscape is changing. The economy is changing all the time, and that requires people to adapt individually. So it makes sense that it also requires couples to adapt together.
Exactly.
And maybe change from some of their kind of like long set routines.
Exactly.
And so vacations then build flexibility.
Yes. Another element that is it can theoretically help with your commitment in your relationship. Research shows that when you kind of have those routines as opposed to novelty and newness in your relationship, or let me say it this way, when you travel and you get to experience these new even challenges and you start to grow, you kind of move away from that boredom that eventually comes as relationships age.
Right.
And that keeps your attention more in the relationship rather than outside the relationship.
Yeah, so we talked about this phenomenon for an individual mind already, that you need some doses of novelty to kind of keep up your attention, but apparently that works at the couples level as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Novelty, not only in the other episode you were talking about, really helps the individual, and we all need that. We need the change and the growth and the expansion, but also when it's experienced next to someone, it also brings you together, and you associate that growth to the other person when experienced together. And one last thing that I want to mention about how vacations really help is you just have more time for intimacy and affection.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's in this busy life, it's becoming so fast that you really lose all those what Gottman and others, those affection bids that you give in your relationship. It's just hard to keep them going. And there is one study that we just submitted that I shared with you the other day. We found that this sex and affection was not only higher on vacations, but people reported higher intimacy and passion in their relationship up to 6 to 12 months after their vacation. Which was
that's
interesting.
amazing. Yeah. So now I want to turn this on its head a little bit. So suppose someone listening is happy in a relationship. They feel that the relationship works, but they recently went on vacation with their partner and it did not turn out well, especially when compared to daily life. So seemingly they didn't benefit. So is this romance kind of doomed? Is this like the first sign of trouble when you can't vacation well together?
I would say it depends on a number of things. First of all, I would have a hard time imagining a relationship that is happy, but at the same time is so routine and nothing changes, and they don't travel and they keep repeating something every day and they still think they're happy with that relationship. So staying in your comfort zone is not anymore equal to happiness. And yes, in a day-to-day life, we can all keep ourselves busy with work or numb ourselves with social media or substances and not realize that there's much going on or there's no problem with things. And then on vacations, when you put those hopefully aside, things come up. So you go all the way to New Zealand to see the Milford Sounds, and then the weather is not cooperating, which is a true story. And we had some, or you want to go to this coffee shop or cafe or a restaurant, and then you plan for months, and then you go and it's the holiday of that. So flat tire, loose flights, and I would even say that these challenges or bad things that are part of any vacation indeed is an opportunity for couples to confront and rather grow again, related to the previous thing we were talking about.
Yeah.
But there's one important thing, Andre, that some of these, if we want to call it mental disorders or high extreme levels of anxiety or obsession that some individuals have, counselors and social psychologists have found that a lot of the problems in the relationships are not the relationship, but it's these individual problems that they bring to the relationships that can manifest on a vacation or at home. So from that lens, vacation can be an opportunity, again, to maybe realize these, think about it, work together about it, like skills like conflict resolution, negotiations. So vacation in itself, I wouldn't say is a source of trouble, but it could indeed be a context where relationships can benefit.
So with this kind of conclusion in mind that couples in general benefit from vacationing together, and that there's a variety of mechanisms, but a lot of them are driven by novelty, and that not only does novelty sort of trigger multiple processes that help you out as a couple, but also the benefits are multiple and varied. Supposing Alinda and I are planning our next weekend away right now, what would your kind of practical advice for us be? What criteria and choices should we keep in mind?
I knew you would ask this, so I have 8 quick tips that I like to give you two and also other couples who are listening right now.
All right, 8 tips.
Very quick. 1, try to make it overnight. 1 or 2 nights. That's where the magic starts to happen. 2, try to plan not only joint things together, but also individual activities. The me time is also very important, and that doesn't come easily to different cultures and different relationships.
Even over a weekend.
Even over a weekend.
Yeah, because in Rotterdam, our run was great for that.
The run together or separate?
Well, because we ran separately.
You ran separately.
She's faster.
Yes. So we all need that alone time on vacations as well. And that's when you really get to really do things that you really like to do or with people. At the same time, tip number 3 is try to be open and supportive, especially earlier in the relationships. You never know. You might start to realize that you like something that you never thought of. 4, try to plan things together, not just one person in the relationship planning everything out. The planning together and the anticipation itself is a source of excitement for any vacation. I don't know who does the planning in your relationship.
So the funny thing about this is we definitely anticipate together and we look forward to it together. But Alinda in particular swears that the reason why our vacations together always turn out so well and why they're good for our relationship and basically all the points you kind of ticked off is because I do all the planning and I decide what we're going to do. And she's like, oh, I'm so glad you decided all these things. Otherwise, we'd just lay in bed.
Love it. Love it. Happy to hear that. So you're putting your science into practice. That's fantastic. Yeah. So now it might be nice for that flexibility that we talked earlier to sometimes get her involved in the planning as well. Also, because if things went bad, then you're not the only one to blame either. Yeah. Number 5, I would say it's always good to decide on a certain weekend whether you want to go on more, do some of the routine, eat at the regular restaurant or the cafe, or do something new and novel at different times of the year or at the different phases of a relationship. We need different balances of that. Number 6, I wrote down, try to limit distractions. I don't know how successful you are with that. I'm getting better at trying to turn off notifications and not take work with me. I'm from a culture where my parents-in-laws mostly call very often. Yeah. So it's good to inform others or work that we're on this vacation. That's some of the things I really appreciated about the culture of Netherlands, that detachment that happens, or the emails. Also, try to leave your office or home space tidy and organized.
Oh, yeah.
That would help to come back.
That is a tip for happy travel of all kinds.
All kinds.
Absolutely. 100%.
That would definitely
help. You heard
it
here.
with the transition, yes. To come back.
Yes.
And it's not easy if you have kids as well.
It's really worth that extra hour. You really want to come home to something that doesn't look bombed out.
Yeah. I also find it very helpful if I have a list of things to do and close the things that are halfway. That also helps. Number 7, if time allows, try connecting with other couples and strangers. Research shows that's also beneficial, although it's a couple vacation, but those. And number 8, which I think would be one of my favorites, is try to keep track of how you feel and how did things go individually and also as a couple. And that would be a valuable information for your next vacations.
Yeah. Okay, thanks so much for that.
Yeah.
So as always, we'll end with some practical information. Rotterdam's Market Hall and Citizen M Hotel are located by the Willemsbridge and the Blaak Railroad and subway station. You can also easily walk there from the main train station. After about a 15-minute walk downriver, you're at the next bridge, the breathtaking Erasmus Bridge, and near the Dune Cafe with its intricate espresso menu. While we did not take a water taxi on this visit, we've done so in the past, and if you're only going to be in Rotterdam once, don't miss it. It's fast, it's rough, and it's great. And of course, it is the best to experience as a couple. With that, I'm going to thank Moji so much for joining us today, and until next time, everyone, happy travels. The Science of Traveling Well was initiated partly thanks to an HBO postdoc grant of the regieorgaan Stichting Innovatie Alliantie of the Dutch government.